Hello everybody, welcome to MH370, which stands for Murders She Investigated. I'm Zoe. If you are new to MH370, you are invited to subscribe this channel. In this video, we shall investigate Huawei's owner. Previously, we noted that Huawei's international competitors have been wondering about how could Huawei afford to operate at a loss, one project after another? How could Huawei not having cash flow problems? To what extent could Huawei afford to lose? Who owns Huawei? When people discovered that China Development Bank was financing Huawei's losing operation year after year, many thought Huawei was a China Inc., a state-owned company. Then, on several occasions, Huawei was suspected of stealing restricted American technologies to upgrade China's military capabilities. An example was the death of Sean Todd in 2012. When someone discovered that Huawei's employees were conducting research with China's PLA, the speculation went one step further. Some people believed that Huawei was not only a China Inc., but also one of China's defense contractors, albeit a secret one. As time goes by, some even claims that Huawei in fact is a part of China's PLA. It functions like PLA's ears and eyes, spying for the CCP. If so, this assertion should make everybody uneasy, because Huawei had approximately 200,000 employees working in 170 countries at its peak time. Huawei denied all these allegations. To defend itself, Huawei finally disclosed its ownership. Its founder CEO, Renzen Fei, holds 1.14% of the company's shares. The other 98.86% of the shares are held by the union representing Huawei's employees. Is Huawei's statement believable? If Huawei has a union, why doesn't the union negotiate on behalf of its members to rid Huawei of its infamous 996 mandate? Why was there no effort to defend Huawei's employees of allegations of misconduct? As said earlier, Huawei requires its employees to work from 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. each day, 6 days a week. Those who are not able to work on the 996 terms would find their employment contracts not renewed. This may happen even when an employee has dedicated the best 10 years of his or her life to the company. In 2019, Huawei had a labor dispute that dominated headlines for about a month. It was called the case of Li Hongyuan 251. Let's use this case to observe Huawei's union. Li Hongyuan was a team leader at Huawei's inverter sales unit In November of 2016, he discovered some fictitious sales contracts amounting to hundreds of millions of US dollars. Given the dollar amount, Li Hongyuan felt he could not just ignore it. He reported the fictitious contracts anonymously to Huawei's upper management. Unknown to Li Hongyuan, the inverter unit had been doing this for some time. The fictitious contracts were being used to apply for government subsidies. Huawei's management eventually found Li Hongyuan was the anonymous whistleblower. In early 2017, Li Hongyuan was told that the company's CEO, Ren Zhenfei, would like to have a chat with him to know more about the contract. Li Hongyuan was thrilled. In his mind, Ren Zhenfei was Huawei's god. He felt honored to have the opportunity to speak face-to-face with Ren Zhenfei. Ren Zhenfei listened to Li Hongyuan passionately. At the end, Ren Zhenfei instructed Li Hongyuan to talk with the manager of the network energy products. Li Hongyuan did that. Before long, Li Hongyuan felt it was becoming harder and harder to do his job. One by one, his salesmen left him. Huawei declined to find him replacements. By the middle of 2017, his unit became a one-man band. Given the circumstance, Li Hongyuan sometimes had to make trips to visit his customers, in addition to his sales administration tasks. His applications for trip expense reimbursement were never once approved. Naturally, Li Hongyuan linked the increasing annoyance to the fictitious contracts. On the other hand, when speaking with Ren Zhenfei earlier, Li Hongyuan was left with the impression that Ren Zhenfei was on his side. Li Hongyuan was at first confused. Then he wondered if he had been fooled by a double-faced Ren Zhenfei. Li Hongyuan bought a recording pen and carried it in his pocket all the time. This was a way to prove someone to be double-faced in case he encountered one. Towards the end of 2017, Huawei's Human Resource Department notified Li Hongyuan his employment contract would not be renewed. There was no room to negotiate. Li Hongyuan accepted that his last day of work would be January 31st, 2018. On his last day of work, Li Hongyuan spent 2 hours in Huawei's Human Resource Department to go through the separation procedures. He mostly spoke with Mr. Ho to discuss his year-end bonus and the severance compensation. Mr. Ho said Huawei would use the formula N+1 to calculate and pay Li Hongyuan the severance compensation. N was the number of years Li Hongyuan worked for Huawei. Li Hongyuan disagreed. He insisted he was entitled to a severance pay using the Formula 2N. He argued he did not quit the job. The separation was proposed by the company with no cause given. His clean employment record suggested the separation was not caused by his misconduct. Additionally, Li Hongyuan argued he was entitled to the 2017 year-end bonus, given his last day of work was in 2018. Finally, Mr. Ho agreed to pay Li Hongyuan 2N for his severance pay, plus the 2017 year-end bonus. However, Mr. Ho said that the severance pay would not be a lump sum. It would be in 2 installments. Why? Because the form for the severance pay was designed by the company's legal department and could not be altered. Li Hongyuan noticed the 2N severance pay was written in the form. He decided not to argue further. He asked Mr. Ho to note the 2017 year-end bonus in the form as well. Mr. Ho declined by saying there was no space to note the bonus. Mr. Ho reassured Li Hongyuan since he made a promise he would personally make sure Li Hongyuan got his bonus. Li Hongyuan paused and was reluctant to sign off the form. Suddenly, a voice nearby shot a question at Li Hongyuan. "Oh, Li, don't you have faith in our party?" Li Hongyuan sensed the political implications if he insisted. He signed the form and left Huawei. Li Hongyuan moved back to his hometown with his family. Chinese Lunar New Year was approaching. At home, his grandpa was getting more and more frail each day. He planned to stay at home for a while before looking for his next job. The Chinese Lunar New Year came and went. One day, Li Hongyuan received a notification from Huawei. He was requested to go to Shenzhen to sign off the second installment of his severance pay. Li Hongyuan joined Huawei in October of 2005. He had 12-plus years of seniority. On March 8th, Li Hongyuan was at Huawei's headquarters. He was expecting 331,576.73 Chinese yen, which was the difference between the Formula 2N and N+1. Upon confirmation, Li Hongyuan learned the fund would be transferred to his bank account. Although a fund transfer occurred, Li Hongyuan felt odd. He received 304,742.98 Chinese yen instead. Upon a closer look, he noticed more peculiar things. The payer was not Huawei. The fund originated from a personal account of Mr. Ho's secretary. The difference between the amounts he confirmed and received was 26,833.75 Chinese yen. It was noted as income tax withheld. Li Hongyan reported the peculiarities to Huawei's Human Resource Department. This hit a stone wall. By talking with some Huawei's ex-employees, Li Hongyan realized he was not the only one who received severance pay from a private personal account. Li Hongyan did not wish to get into trouble with the tax authority. He wrote the tax authority a letter explaining his severance pay and the amount of tax withheld by Huawei. In September, Li Hongyan received a response from the tax authority saying Huawei was contacted and the tax was paid. As far as Li Hongyan was concerned, his severance pay was taken care of. As soon as Huawei paid him the 2017 year-end bonus, he would be done with Huawei. He called Mr. Ho to follow up about his bonus. Surprisingly, Mr. Ho shouted at him over the phone, "You did such a lousy job in 2017. You should be ashamed of yourself. How dare you ask for a bonus?" Li Hongyan remembered Mr. Ho verbally promised him the 2017 bonus. He wanted the promise in writing then. Mr. Ho declined instead. They told him to have faith in the party. Li Hongyan worked until 2018. Huawei had no ground to refuse him his 2017 bonus. Li Hongyan decided to take the legal path to recoup his bonus. He wrote Huawei requesting some documents related to his employment so that he could file a labor arbitration. Huawei ignored Li Hongyan's request. On November 8, 2018, Li Hongyan filed a suit against Huawei for failure to pay him the 2017 bonus. More than a month later, on December 16, Li Hongyan heard some people banging on his front door. He opened the door and saw a group of policemen. They were looking for Li Hongyan. Li Hongyan answered and was taken to the Longan police station. At the police station, Li Hongyan learned that Huawei reported him to Longan police station the day before. He was accused of using the company's commercial secrets to blackmail the company for extra severance pay. Li Hongyan denied the accusation and was locked up at the police station. According to the Chinese law, Li Hongyan ought to have been released within a month if the prosecutor had not accepted the case. On January 22, 2019, the prosecutor began the process of evaluating his prosecution. Li Hongyan was sent to a detention center to await further actions. Another 3 months went by. On April 16th, Li Hongyan finally met with his prosecutor for the first time. At the meeting, Li Hongyan learned more about the so-called blackmail. Huawei said Li Hongyan went to Huawei's Human Resource Department on January 31, 2018. At Mr. Ho's office, Li Hongyuan demanded 300,000 Chinese yuan. If Huawei refused, Li Hongyuan would expose his co-worker, who created fictitious inverter sales contracts to defraud the government for subsidies. The prosecutor left. Li Hongyuan was by himself. He tried hard to recall what happened on January 31st last year. He remembered it was a peaceful negotiation overall. He even cracked a joke or two. Nobody ever mentioned the inverters then. The blackmail accusation was totally made up. The problem was how to prove there was no blackmail. When he was at Mr. Ho's office, there was another person there. She could testify. Would she risk her job and testify honestly? All of a sudden, Li Hongyuan remembered his recording pen. The next day, Li Hongyuan met with his lawyer to discuss the case. At the end of the discussion, he asked his lawyer to contact his wife for the recording pen. The lawyer got the recording pen and prepared a statement of defense for Li Hongyuan. It was submitted to Longyan local court, along with related evidence. On April 19th, the local court prosecutor returned the case of Huawei versus Li Hongyuan to the police station, citing lack of sufficient evidence. The police station was requested to submit additional evidence. On May 17th, the local police submitted more statements from Huawei as additional evidence. On June 19th, the prosecutor returned the case again to the police station, citing the same reason, lack of sufficient evidence. In order to prepare additional evidence, the local policeman interviewed Mr. Ho again on July 4th. Mr. Ho changed his previous statement by saying Li Hongyuan did not blackmail him at his office. The blackmail message was passed to him from Li Hongyuan's superior, Mr. Li. A policeman contacted Mr. Li to substantiate what Mr. Ho had said. Mr. Li denied it flat out. On July 12th, the local police station resubmitted the case with their latest investigation report. On August 13th, the prosecutor discovered Li Hongyuan's detention time was about to expire. He extended the detention by 10 days to allow himself more time to work on it. On August 23rd, Longyan local court decided not to prosecute Li Hongyuan due to insufficient evidence on any of the criminal charges. Li Hongyuan was released from the detention center the same day. From December 16, 2008, the day Li Hongyuan was arrested, until the day he was released, Li Hongyuan was detained 251 days for no good reasons. The case was therefore referred to by the public as Case of Li Hongyuan 251. Walking out of the detention center, Li Hongyuan felt a new lease of life. Then he learned the sad news. Grandpa was so shocked when Li Hongyuan was taken away by the police. He died during the time Li Hongyuan was detained. As recommended by his lawyer, Li Hongyuan filed a request for state compensation, including an apology, a restoration of his name, a sum of 78,985 Chinese yuan for injury to personal rights, and 50,000 yuan for mental damages. On November 25th, Longan Local Court rewarded Li Hongyuan 79,394 Chinese yuan for personal injury and 27,755 Chinese yuan for mental damages. In addition, the court sent official letters to Huawei as well as the employer of Li Hongyuan's fathers to clear Li Hongyuan's name. On November 28th, Li Hongyuan used the internet to post the court letter to a group of Huawei's ex-employees who shared the belief of protecting workers' rights. Li Hongyuan emphasized he did not go through a trial to preserve his innocence. He was released because there was no evidence of any criminal acts to prosecute. He wished others to share his posting with other friends so that his name could be cleared. On the same day, Li Hongyuan's posting was shared, reshared, and reshared. All of a sudden, everybody learned more or less about this case of Li Hongyuan 251. Using the case of Li Hongyuan 251 as an observation, notice that never once did Huawei's union stand out to aid Li Hongyuan. Huawei's claimed that 98.86% of the company's shares are held by a union representing Huawei's employees. Is it believable? Two professors have studied Huawei's ownership and the so-called union. They are Donald Clark and Christopher Balding. Their study concluded that Huawei was indeed owned by an entity referred to as a union. However, the union is only a label. It is totally different from the kind of union understood by the general public in Western democracies. At Huawei, an employee, if qualified, can purchase phantom shares from Huawei's union. Phantom shares are more like business contracts. They entitle the employees to collect dividends. However, the holders of the phantom shares have no right to vote on any of the union's decisions. Phantom shares cannot be sold or transferred. Upon a separation of the employment, the employee has to sell the shares back to Huawei at Huawei's term, not their market value. Phantom shares do not make employees the company's owners. In other words, Huawei's union does not represent a collective bargaining power for Huawei's employees. So, if Huawei's union does not function for the benefit of the employees, what is the purpose of its union? It might come as a surprise. In China, unions are everywhere. They represent a network that encompasses China's labor force. They are structured hierarchically. At the top of the pyramid is the All China Federation of Trade Unions. All unions, including Huawei's union, have to follow the lead of the All China Federation of Trade Unions. That in turn is led by the CCP's Central Committee. Through this perspective of ownership, it is clear that Huawei's mission was to serve the interest of the CCP's Central Committee. In 2012, the CCP's General Secretary Xi Jinping announced the China Dream to the world. Subsequently, we witnessed China's One Belt, One Road development in action. Little by little, the world began to understand the China Dream is meant to take down the United States and let the CCP become the only superpower on Earth. Huawei is one of the CCP's tools to fulfill this China Dream. This is all on Union and Misleading label. If you are new to MSI, you are invited to subscribe this channel. If you are already a subscriber, a thumb up is appreciated. Feel free to share this channel with others. The MH370 incident deserves everybody's attention worldwide for the sake of safe public air traveling. Next time, the video is titled The Rock Pilot. See you then.